head on this issue, and we better get busy, get about the business of addressing the problem. I think the real question then becomes, Jesse, how? And, I think, Jesse, that King never answered the question how we restructure the edifice. He didn't live long enough, but it was on his mind. And really, he left that for us to figure out the how.
Johnny, before I move to this question, this second question in this triple evil, I think Dr. King would also help us better understand the role that the law played in fighting institutional racism. We've gotten a lesson in the last 9 years, every single American, in what the absence of protection of the law actually does. 300,000 Black women lose their jobs in Washington, D.C., when our generals and other men and women in the Pentagon can't be promoted, when we see that we are dropping in federal and state contracts and that corporations are rolling back their commitments to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There is a role that the law played, not in dealing with personal prejudice, plenty of that going on, but in dismantling the structure that says, I will not look at women, I will not look at Blacks, I will not look at Hispanics, because the law, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the Department of Justice is not on our side. Let me raise this next question, and we have about 2 minutes before we come forward. On the question of poverty, King was building the Poor People's Campaign when he died, arguing that racial justice was incomplete without economic justice. With inflation, housing costs, and wealth inequality still dominating the headlines, what would King's approach to poverty look like in your best estimation, Dr. Mack, in 2026?
Well, if you don't mind, Jesse, I know we only have about a minute and a half to respond to that. I hope we come back to it after the break. But you started your question by talking about the law itself and how King looked to the law. I thought you were going to actually follow up with that question. And then, perhaps we could, address the question of poverty, because I think that King would be very disappointed and surprised at how we see, understand, and engage, quote unquote, the law, the system, which is part of that social structure.
Johnny, I agree. And I'm grateful that you brought that to my attention, and we will certainly deal with it when we come forward. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're going to have an in-depth conversation with Dr. Johnny Mack, whose research around the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism are so prevalent today. And we are trying to sharpen the pencil as we go forward with our show right here at KBLA. Johnny Mack is the anchor of what we do here at KBLA and our ministry. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's sharp. She's fearless. I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I'm going to get clicks, stop it now. She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seals is here.
I am Amanda Seals.
Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seals, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seals Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen, tune in.
I love days like these at the pool, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. I'm ready to make a splash with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza. Skyrizi is a prescription-only injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. At 4 months, most people saw 90% clearer skin when measured from head to toe, and many were even 100% plaque-free. People also saw significant improvement in psoriasis symptoms of pain, redness, itching, and burning.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Now there's nothing on my skin thanks to Skyrizi, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're in the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack. Dr. Mack is an expert in the space of peaceable power under the nonviolent philosophy of Martin Luther King Jr. Mack argues that nonviolence is a metalogic with direct structural and cultural forms that counterpose Johann Galtung's seminal conflict of violence triangles. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. Mack, just before the break, I did ask you a question about the structural compromises in the law, where I've tried to argue that Dr. King argued that it is one thing for a person to personally have a feeling about me, but it is another thing to have the law on my side protecting me from the harm that they could cause to me personally. Mm-hmm. And if there ever were an education that's taking place right now, we are watching not a real estate developer from New York running his mouth, denying some African Americans housing opportunities, violating New York City codes and state law, and whatever methods of manipulation he was able to use to become who he became. We're talking about the President of the United States with the Supreme Court and the Congress of the United States dismantling Second Reconstruction, dismantling the Voting Rights Act, attacking the Civil Rights Act, Robinson versus Calais. We're talking about the Dobbs decision. We're looking at the removal of the law that is responsible for the entire world that we've built since 1964, 65, and during the Civil Rights Movement. I think Dr. King would see that as a structural component necessary to change the dynamic of men and women's thinking in this country and maybe even in the world. Dr. Mack?
Yeah, Jesse, I'm so happy that we're having this conversation. It is the conversation of the day, and too often, or most often, we're not having it. I think that the law is under attack. Our whole framework in our country is based fundamentally on democracy development and the rule of law. In King's time, King felt that he could rely upon the law. And what that says is King felt that he could rely upon the people responsible for ensuring that the integrity of the law was respected, that we can rely on that fundamental idea that the law rules, and that no person, no individual, no group are above the law, that we are all equally subject to the law. If King were with us today, and I think you inferred this in your question, he would take pause in the fact that the rule of law, as we have traditionally understood it, is not holding. That even our highest elected officials or official is not a respecter of the rule of law. How then can we rely on that law? I think that's a very big question. And I think the answer that we, the people, give is the most important answer that we can possibly give at this time in our history.
You know, other than the fact that you're an extremely busy person, I'm an extremely busy person. Tavis is an extremely busy person. William Barber is an extremely busy person. Sharpton, Johnson, we're all very, very busy people. We are in agreement on something, and that is midterms. Atiba would say it this way: midterms effing matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reestablishment of the law, the common framework by which we in a civilized society approach these issues, including but not limited to the dismantling of systemic racism in the nation, requires the law to be on our side. The law was on our side under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln had problems, a lot of bad quotes. I get it. Political timing, was a creature of the time, etc. But when it came time to pull the trigger, Lincoln issued the executive order. When it came time to pull the trigger, he advanced the cause of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States so that the country would not slip backwards without the law. So I don't want, as Dr. King would probably say, anyone to say that I am downplaying the significance of the law in any struggle, because we have to codify our progress in the law, or another generation will have to combat or fight the exact same fight that we're fighting in the present, because we did not take the time to codify it in the law. That's the Dobbs decision. We had Roe v. Wade in 1973. Congress didn't codify it in the law, and there have been plenty of Democratic Congresses and Democratic presidents since 1973 who did not advance the rights of women in that space under the law. And hence, we are now right back to, can we get a Congress? Can we get a Senate? And can we get a president to do for us what multiple Congresses did not do, because we took our eyes off the law? That's the point that I want to make about that. If there is another method in the United States other than fighting for the law, please share it with us. I can't make anybody do something that we don't all agree to through the power of the Congress, the Senate, and the signature of the president, and the approval and the constitutionality of the court. So we have a method in this system for fighting this. There is no extra existential method, no method outside of the method that is the one that we agree upon. That it needs to go through Congress, that it needs to go through the Senate, that it needs to be reconciled and signed by a president. I think Dr. King understood that better than most.
Well, Jesse, I think you're right, but you got to go one step further. And you touched on it, and I think maybe you took a step back, not intentionally. Yes, the people have to vote for it. Yes, or Congress has to legislate it. Yes, the president has to sign it. At some point, the law becomes subject to that grander scheme of things that we call the Constitution, which is in of itself a priori, the academics would say, comes before, is the first law of law. And then that, Jesse, even has to be interpreted. Someone has to say what the intent of the Constitution is. And that is part of that social structure, that edifice of the law. Problem we are confronting today And before I even say that, let me say that even when it comes to voting, voting depends upon the law, and the law depends upon voting. So there's a mutually reinforcing, virtuous relationship between voting and the law, yes. The challenge we are confronted with is who is interpreting the law?
Agreed. You know me, I'm the author of A More Perfect Union, 2001, updated in 2019. I offered 9 amendments to the Constitution, and I said we need to start a constitutional struggle with plain language so that even the most conservative court in the United States cannot mistake what the plain language of these amendments would mean if added to the Constitution on healthcare, education, the environment, the fundamental right to vote, because you and I lived through Bush v. Gore. We've lived through a president who says that elections were shams, that they were rigged, but he's offered no proposal to strengthen elections in our democracy, only proposals to undermine democracy and rig democracy. If you wanted to strengthen democracy, you'd offer a constitutional right and turn every precinct in the United States into the same kind of secure situation that you've done with airports in every single terminal in the United States. You'd have a TSA form of officials whose sole responsibility is to make sure votes are counted, that they're handled appropriately, and that people are participating in the process without fear of intimidation or discrimination. That would be fair. That would be the way to strengthen democracy and encourage other democracies around the country to do the same. So I've offered amendments to the Constitution. And at every step of the way, amendments offered in 2001, this is 2026, still no Democratic candidates are running for president offering amendments to the Constitution. And when they do, they're offering reactionary amendments to a tyrannical president rather than amendments that would expand and strengthen democracy. So I'm not losing faith in democracy. I'm losing faith in candidates who are running for office who don't know, from my perspective, what they are talking about. They lack an understanding of the Constitution, not me. And I think Dr. King understood a more expansive view of the Constitution, and he would have been enthralled with the idea of a second Bill of Rights. In fact, Liz King and Barrett Pittner, Doctors King and Pittner, who are on our show on Tuesday, he is now offering an amendment, according to his Substack, that includes basically these 9 things in a single amendment to the Constitution. Whether that's practical or not is another question. But as we deconstruct what Dr. King would have us do at this hour, I have to ask the contemporary question in light of the fact that people are voting in the not too distant future, and that is this. One of the triple evils is poverty. What would King's approach to poverty look like in 2026 with people going to the polls to make a decision about affordability and the questions that confront a chicken on their table? Dr. Mack.
Well, you know, Jesse, poverty is poverty. Want is want. Meeting basic human needs is basic. And I don't know that poverty, in its fundamental definition as we understand it, is any different today than it is or than it was 50, 60, 70 years ago. King, of course, would be appalled that there is so much poverty, even in a time of plenty in the United States, as 1% of 1% accumulate, whatever the statistic is, some outlandish percentage of the resources, of the value, of the wealth of our nation. So he would be appalled, of course. The real question is, what would we do about it? What would he do about it? And you're suggesting a couple of things. Of course, voting is part of it. Voting is when people go to the polls, who will they want to represent them in order to enact those constitutional amendments as legislative authority? What type of leadership must we have? Yes, he would encourage voting for sure, but Jesse, he would encourage more than voting, because voting.
Johnny, let me throw this out at you.
Yeah.
because this is a fascinating conversation. I'm going to give Martin Luther King Jr. credit for an amendment, and I bet you it's the first time you've ever heard it today in any discourse or conversation.
Let's have it.
I think because of the Vietnam speech, and he said the resources that were designed to fight the war on poverty here at home are now being shifted to the war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, while it may not have an author, the 26th Amendment to the Constitution, ratified towards the end of the Vietnam War, that the clearest spokesperson during that conflict, other than another white democratic socialist whose name escapes me right now, is Martin Luther King Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the argument is that if we can die in a rice paddy in Vietnam, we should be able to vote for the people in the United States who are sending our resources and sending our bodies and our treasury to Vietnam. That amendment is Martin Luther King Jr.'s amendment. It's also, I think, William Sloane Coffin's amendment. It's also Muhammad Ali's amendment. I'm not going to fight that war. When I look at the voices, it's the students at Kent State. It's their amendment. It's everyone who stood up against that war during that conflict, with, of course, Dr. King, Ali, William Sloane Coffin, and others articulating very clearly that those who handle the law, those who appropriate the resources, are sending them there, and they're not taking care of them here. And that raises, of course, for me, the next question. It is the law that is now spending $1.5 trillion, nearly $1.5 trillion on the war, on the Pentagon, the Department of War, the Gaza Strip, the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't hear a King voice emerging in this context to demand that those resources be spent on the triple evils right here at home. That crystallizes it for me a little bit better. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the World House with Johnny Mack and Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Johnny Mack when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Chicago leaders have broken ground on the Chicago Torture Justice Memorial in Washington Park.
When this memorial is completed, it will provide a space for education, community building, remembrance.
Black Mayor Brandon Johnson and other officials say it will be the nation's first permanent memorial honoring survivors of police torture, including those harmed by former Chicago Police Commander John Burge and detectives under his command. At least 24,000 police officers may be needed for the 2028 Olympics and Paralympics in Los Angeles. A bill backed by Black Mayor Karen Bass would allow temporary certification for out-of-state officers to help staff the games. And Bone Thugs and Harmony received their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame Wednesday. Ahead of the ceremony, the legendary Cleveland rap group said the honor belongs not only to them, but also to their families, their city, their fans, and everyone who supported them from the start. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Cleaning starts with one small task, and suddenly it's the whole house. Luckily, there's AirTasker. Post your task, set your budget, and choose a tasker to help. From carpet cleaning to finally tackling the junk drawer. Go to airtasker.com or download the app.
AirTasker. Get anything done.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk Talk 1580. We've got your black. BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest and mentor to me personally and to the program, Dr. Johnny Mack, whose seminal work always asks the question, after confrontation, then what? A legitimate question, challenging the putative logic of nonviolent social change theory and practice. Particularly, he rearticulates nonviolence beyond the traditional understanding of nonviolent struggle as principally nonviolent resistance. Just because I'm nonviolent doesn't mean I'm not going to defend myself. or I'm not going to resist injustice. I appreciate that. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to Worldwide with Johnny Mack and the World
Thank
House.
you. Thank you. It's just great to be here, Jesse.
Johnny, just before the break, you were making a point.
Indeed. In fact, I'll pick up where you just left off about voting and what nonviolent is, what nonviolent direct action even is. Now, this will surprise many, and maybe even you, Jesse. I would argue that voting is a form of nonviolent direct action. And we miss the significance of that statement. If we don't vote, then we miss the opportunity for direct action to effect social change, to create the environment for change to take place. That is almost the quintessential definition of nonviolent direct action, to bring attention to an issue, to create the environment for the change itself. And so when you think about what you just read about my own work, not so much to bring attention to that work, but to make the point, Jesse, after confrontation, then what? If voting is a form of nonviolent direct action, then the confrontation is going to the ballot box. It is going inside the voting booth and confronting the issues most important to me. And so then my question comes, after confrontation, then what? Stay with me on this, Jesse, please.
Take your time. Take your time.
After confrontation, then what? If I'm right about it, that voting is a form of direct action, it is a form of direct confrontation, it is a form of even resistance, it is a form of intervention, it is a form of engagement. If it is all of those things, after that confrontation, do we go back home, sit down, and do nothing? After that confrontation, then what? What else should we be doing besides voting? We don't have, I would argue, Jesse, not even the conversation, let alone the social infrastructures to answer that question. After the confrontation of voting, what else must I do? Even before the confrontation, even the preparation for voting, what should I have done as a form of nonviolent direct action, even before I get to the booth, even before I cast the ballot? We make our nonviolent direct action, therefore, I would argue, whether it's voting or protesting or marching, we make it an event. We make it a transaction. We don't make it an institutional and structural framework that ensures the relevance and longevity of our action.
You know, I was listening to Tavis's editorial right after the break, and he talked about accountability, and he talked about it's not personal, but some of us haven't matured to the idea that on the then what question after I vote. Let me tell you, the first time I ever voted was for Harold Washington in 1983.
That was a good vote cast.
It was a great vote cast, but you know what? All of us put so much faith in Harold Washington, I was okay with whatever Harold was doing downtown in city government because my faith was in Harold to make the city more just.
Now you make the point.
Did I let my guard go down? Then what? Then what? Well, then I trusted Harold. Because ain't nothing I can do with the city council. Let him fight for Doliak. Let him fight Dick Mill.
Now you're making
the point. Let him fight Alderman Burke. You know, let him fight the institutional Democratic Party in Chicago. I'm with Harold. That's what we do. I'm with Obama. I'm with him.
Now you're
then
preaching.
What? Then what? Well, then we got to get to affordable care. Then we got to get to better housing. Then we got to get to the passage of a Civil Rights Act and a Voting Rights Act that might have avoided the whole Robinson versus Calais decision. That's not criticizing Obama. It's accountability to the progress that we've made, because your successor ain't going to give us these things. This isn't a beauty contest. It's the then what. Well, the then what is I gave you my vote, but now I have confidence and faith in you. And I think black people, to Tavis's editorial, we let go after the confrontation, after the resistance at the poll. And we count on some people we never hear from again after they get elected. We don't hear from them until they come back around to the churches again, seeking a vote. And that's not the same dynamic, Johnny.
That's right.
That other communities have.
That's it, Jesse. And, you've hit the nail on the head, as they say. Not only that, this point of accountability, not only holding those whom we voted for accountable, but remember at the top of our discussion, you talked about the law and the responsibility of Congress, the responsibility of the executive, the responsibility of the court. We have a responsibility to hold each level of government accountable, including we, the people. Yes, we, the people, have a responsibility to hold the Supreme Court, the highest court of the land itself, accountable. But we feel we don't have the wherewithal to do that. And so whatever they say, whatever they do, we suck our thumbs and say, oh, well, that's the court. They've ruled. But when the court doesn't hold true to the fundamental principles embodied within the Constitution, it is as I'm drawing a blank. It'll come back to me. It is our duty. It is our duty to hold the court accountable.
That's the way I felt. And I can't speak for anybody else at KBLA, but that's the way I felt when Barack Obama nominated Merrick Garland to the court. And then when Mitch McConnell, with whatever's going on with him, God bless him, and thoughts and prayers in that direction, whatever that means, pulling for him and his family. But, all we can offer is what the Senate offers people who lose their children in school shootings, thoughts and prayers, since the Senate never does anything about the Second Amendment and the interpretation of the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Thoughts and prayers to Mitch McConnell's family. Like that's going to do him a whole lot right through here. With that said, I mean, I don't think Obama put up a fight for Merrick Garland to be on the court, but I can tell you something else. With hindsight, when Merrick Garland became Attorney General under Joe Biden, this guy right here is responsible for what's going on right now. And we don't even mention his name.
Indeed.
And, we were so busy happy with Joe and happy with Kamala that for 2 years in that administration, Merrick Garland was afraid. He was scared. And then we can look with hindsight and say, well, now this is the same guy Obama wanted on the Supreme Court. Well, what kind of Supreme Court justice was he going to be in the first place? Let alone when he's Joe Biden's Attorney General. He's awful, just awful. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, we're going to figure out how we can be supportive of Johnny Mack and hear some final thoughts from Johnny. More on KBLA Talk 1580 right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You deserve a treat. A $10 bill credit treat. If you get an LADWP paper bill but go online to pay it, stop! Break up with your mailbox. It's time to go paperless. With paperless billing, bill reminders come straight to your inbox. You can access 7 years of past bills in your online account, and you don't have to deal with paper clutter piling up. It's a win for you, your time, and the environment. $10 bill credit for new LADWP paperless billing signups. LADWP.com/paperless.
Going to a world in stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and a drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
In a world full of noise, one station keeps it real. KBLA Talk 1580, where the conversation goes deeper, the voices sound like yours, and the issues that matter most to our community take center stage. Progressive, powerful, unapologetically us. Whether you're driving through the city or tuning in from your home or office, join the public square. KBLA Talk 1580. Your home for talk that enlightens, encourages, and empowers. Listen live on our free KBLA 1580 app, on our website at KBLA1580.com, or on your radio dial at 1580 AM.
Unapologetically progressive.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
The 101, the 5, the 10, the 118, and the 110. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the World House with Johnny Mac. Johnny, how can we support your work?
I hope that you can visit my website, or that you will visit my website at theworldhouseproject.org. It's right there at the bottom of your screen, so that those who are following us on the internet, and at our website, theworldhouseproject.org. You can learn about our work, more about our work, and you can also find the donate button there, the link where you can make a tax-deductible contribution.
I can't begin to tell you how important Johnny's work is, not only to our show, but to the nation. We have some amazing people who listen to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and oftentimes they come to our show to center themselves, to prepare themselves going into the weekend for whatever's coming next from this administration. And you can listen to the tone, the spirit within which Johnny Mac speaks to give you some sense of the kind of command that he has in some very, very powerful and influential meetings, not only with the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, but Reverend Sharpton and most of the leadership class within the African-American community. Is well respected around the world. Presidents of African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, and Caribbean countries call on Johnny Mack for advice all the time. I am so grateful that he gives us this time once a week right here at KBLA Talk 1580. So what is the sine qua bonum of it all? What is the sum of it all, Johnny? What is the I'm trying to find one of these great Latin words that Dr. King used to use to describe the point of it all. Let me just say it in English. What is the point of it all, Johnny?
Yeah. So what is we gonna do?
Yeah, that part. Well, what is we gonna do? What are we gonna do next? Where do we go from here? Chaos or community?
Where do we go from here,
Johnny?
Well, Jesse, I think we as a people, and anyone under the sound of my voice who identifies themselves in that framework, we as a people, King would say, are going to get to the promised land, but the way we'll get there is not individually. We, he said, not you and not me, not I, we as a people will get to the promised land. And so we together have to work together. We have to struggle together. We have to plan together. We have to organize together. We have to mobilize together. And we have to act together. We have to create the organizations, the social institutions that we, the people, can make decisions over, where we can deliberate, we can decide, and we can act, rather than relying solely on representative government, for example, or solely on an executive that we hope, once in office, will act on our behalf. We have to have the institutional, structural relationships within our communities and across connecting our communities to act. That's a longer conversation, and I hope one of our upcoming sessions, Jesse, will talk very tangibly about what that looks like. What are the institutions and structures? What are the organizations? We understood them to be the church and our schools, our public meetings of various kinds in the mid-20th century. What are they today? Are they on social media? Are they still in our churches and with our churches, represented by our churches? Are they our social clubs, our fraternities, and sororities? What are those institutions where we deliberate, decide, and act upon our best interests? We need a conversation about that.
I absolutely agree. And in this moment, you know, Johnny, I am thinking about the greatness of Frederick Douglass. I mean, in my lifetime, I was 3 years old when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. But because of the way in which he related to Lincoln, the way in which he articulated the case of our people, the fact that he lived through the 3 Reconstruction Amendments, the fact that we are even debating the Reconstruction Amendments, and the loudest voice on behalf of our people during that period was Frederick Douglass, self-educated, former slave, one of the world's greatest orators in the English language. That if Frederick Douglass had not articulated what the problem was and helped move Lincoln to an even broader understanding of the consequences of the peculiar institution of slavery, we might not have gotten to a Frederick Douglass type leader until Martin Luther King in the 1950s. So slavery would have continued for quite a longer period of time, not because we were arguing for a piece of legislation, but we needed a bridge in the Constitution that even our opposition could no longer cross. They can't get past the 13th Amendment. It stops them in their tracks. The 14th Amendment, it's debated. It took a major blow last week, but they had to discuss it. It stops them in their tracks. The 15th Amendment, it took another hit in Robinson versus Calais. But there's only so far they can go because of the way in which he conducted that struggle. It allowed Rosa Parks to sit down and have a legal basis to say, I can ride on this bus. That's the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. And Dr. King can come to her rescue and say it's time to implement the 14th Amendment, and the court can shape it with Brown versus the Board of Education under the leadership of Thurgood Marshall and the Clark studies and all of those cases that came together in the former Brown versus the Board of Education that laid the foundation for the American with Disabilities Act, the LGBTQ, the Civil Rights Movement, and everything else that came forward after that. And that is because in his time and space, Frederick Douglass strengthened our constitutional value, and he fought for it in a way that the future cannot go past his thinking. It just can't get past it because it's there.
Yeah.
With that said, Johnny, I thank you for sharpening the pencil on all of our thinking. Look forward to supporting you at the worldhouseproject.org. That's www.theworldhouseproject.org or www.thejohnnymackgroup.com. Johnny, a word of hope.
A word of hope. Well, I'm looking for one, Jesse. And I have to admit that today I don't have that word except the word itself. I hope in hope itself. I hold on to the idea that hope springs eternal. And I hope that each and every one of us will grab hold of that idea. We'll never let go of hope. It's all we have.
Johnny, keep up the fight. I love you very much, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Thank you, Jesse. Mutual.
Look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward right here at KBLA. Don't touch that dial. Don't shut down that app. DL Hughley is up next. More when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.